Om Bhadram Karne Bishrnuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyema Kshabhiryajatraha Stirairangaihi Tushtuvagam Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Svastina Indro Vrdhashravaha Svastina Pusha Vishwavedaha Svastina Starkshyo Arishtanemihi Svastino Brahaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So verse 8 has been complete. Then the next verse continues and says, verse 5, qualities seen in a sage. Samprapya enam rishayaha jnana triptaha krta atmanaha vitaragaha prashantaha te sarvagam sarvatah prapya dhira yukta atmana sarvam eva avishanti. Having gained Brahman, the sages are satisfied, their minds perfected, it continues free from attachments and naturally serene. That's a it's a loaded statement. So mind is perfected. What do we say about the mind? Yes. So what do you have to fill in here? You have to put a filler. Relatively perfected, just enough so that it can, you can, rest this knowledge and it can understand it. And we equate the mind to a lake which has to be still, relatively still, and it can reflect the fullness of the sun. So now this lake gets ripply because of our fancies, likes and dislikes. That means we have these ideas, shoulds and shouldn'ts. This should happen and this shouldn't happen. And this can be a disturbance. You should be like this. And the moment, look at this, the moment I have this thing in my mind and I'm talking to someone and I'm thinking, they should be speaking differently to me. Should. Am I capable in that moment of recognizing them as a mithya, whose truth is satyam? You see this? So that's how quickly our minds' likes and dislikes overshadow the knowledge. So now you ask, why then do I need to attend to the mind? Not simple, because when there is a ripple in the mind, it simply overpowers your inquiry. I don't see the presence of Ishvara anymore. I see a presence of a faulty person. Yes?
Yeah, so cannot that lead to apathy?
That can potentially lead to apathy if you are not careful, of course, and that becomes more of an escape. And spirituality gets used sometimes in the name of an escape.
I don't understand that, how that becomes an escape. There is
an escape, apathy, because apathy means cold. I don't have to be involved with you. That means the person doesn't have to be kind of participating. That's what apathy means.
There is no wanting, there is no desire, there is the knowing that everything happens.
What do we mean by apathy?
Not doing anything anymore.
Okay.
Still.
Yeah. Does it lead to apathy? I would say it doesn't lead to apathy at all, because your body is made to act. Your body has a certain trajectory.
The urge comes up, the instinct comes up.
It always has been. See, we just took that which one always has been doing it as I. It was never I doing anything. The body called Desi was always doing, always thinking. Now I understand that my true nature is awareness. What happens to this body? It does exactly what it did 10 minutes ago. So how can it lead to apathy? That's why I said those who turn this into apathy turns into an escape. I am not a doer. What are they attributing the non-doer onto? The body-mind. Awareness is the non-doer. And so they say, I am awareness, not a doer. Therefore, let me put it onto the body-mind. And then the body-mind becomes apathetic. Not doing, not participating, not getting involved. And yet this body-mind was always programmed to do what needs to be done according to the program of Dharma. It was sometimes guided by its likes and dislikes. Also, that was also interfering or overshadowing Dharma. So these two, and environment, of course, what is called for from the environment. All these three are making the body and the conditioning and the people around you and the weather and the food you just ate, okay, and so on. All of these variables are making the body a doer, a thinker all day long. Therefore, moksha is not becoming apathetic. Moksha is an identity change. I'm not this doing instrument, this enjoying instrument. I am the awareness in whom doing instrument and enjoying instrument comes and goes, waking to the dreaming to the sleep, all day long. I am the presence in whom the waker, which includes the doer and the enjoyer, and when that waker is gone, then there's a dreamer. And then the dreamer is gone and there's a sleeper. And then you put these three together like a little chain and you have an eternal cycle of these three appearing in me. The one because of whom three states of experience are known. Is the waking state known to you? Absolutely. Is the dream state known to you? Absolutely. Do you sleep? See, if you say probably,
yeah, but I can't remember now. So.
Exactly. Now we can kind of apply some logic there. When you say I'm going to sleep, do you mean in that moment I'm going to dream? No. So what you really mean is I'm going to that place other than the dream, which I can't quite describe, but I know that it has to be, my sleep has to be other than the dream. If you were going to sleep to dream, nobody would be excited. I'm like, oh my God, I have to, just take more nonsense. So once in a while, there needs to be a time where sleep comes. Now, since you gladly want to go to sleep, it means that I must be there. Otherwise, you wouldn't want to go to sleep. You'd be like, I'm going to go out of existence. So these three states keep on happening in me, moment to moment to moment to moment, every single day. There's Andre right now in one single state called the waker. And Andre is now giving a talk to other wakers. And everything we're discussing is in this waking state. And when this waking state totally goes, then another state will come and there will be a dreamer. This waking state will totally be obliterated. There will be no knowledge of the waking state. And the dreamer, is the dreamer going to know about the waker? When you're dreaming, do you go, you know what, right now there's a person in the waking state. You're totally convinced by the dreaming state. Your entire reality is nothing but the dream state. And you take that to be so real that you're willing to perform and do and go and rob banks and what other things you do in a dream. Your whole world is just that. There's nothing else. And then just one instant, all of that disappears and then it resolves back into you. And now there is just unmanifest, potential, nothing. And then from that potential again arises a waking state. And now again there's Andre right now who did some Tai Chi with you. And there's other wakers who ate some food. And in that state, that little one of those three states, he goes, oh, I am this much. I am this, I am a waker. And I'm all the things that happened to me, the little waker. And I'm going through a hard time, It's just 1/3 of reality. And yet I take the entire bubble, everything that happens, to be totally true. One after the other, stacked up. 3 pairs of 3, if you call them pairs of 3. Pairs of 3, pairs of 3, pairs of 3, pairs of 3. All of those 3, in the presence of me, become known. That's why we're talking about them. So if you just were to just take this waking state, put it in front of you right now, and then you take the dream state in front, and then you take the sleep state in front, and you go, so there's Andre. Look what he's doing. Look at that body. And me awareness and pervading his body right now in the waking state. Oh, look at he's doing a seminar right now talking about these 3 states. I am the observer of those 3. And right now, Brahman has manifest in one of those called waking, but Brahman remains also in the dream. Brahman remains in the deep sleep. And who is that one remains? I am Brahman. Akshara Brahman, which is why it's called Akshara, imperishable. It doesn't end. And yet the waking state ends. The dream state is ending. And so is the deep state ending. So what is one thing that is Aksharam? That one because of which the 3 states are recognized. We just said in the dream, you don't know about the waking state. And right now, if I can talk about the waking state, is it really the waking state? Is it really the waking state? It's just an imagination.
It's the waking dream state.
But somehow you do know all this.
Somehow you do know. So that how is it possible? If the waker has no connection to the dreamer and the dreamer has no connection to the waker, how is it possible that right now I know about all 3? That means I have to be different, other, separate from, free of those 3. Now when I say separate, you then reconcile that using a satya-mithya relationship. So it's never truly separate. Has cheerfulness without cause. How do we often gain cheerfulness?
From the obstacles.
Something's got to happen, right? External trigger has to be. Like if something's happened, I am now happy. Like a promotion or whatever it is. Now, the sage's joy is prashanti. It is like sunlight. Sunlight always shining. Even when the clouds cover it, it's still shining. The shine never went. Thus, tripti, contentment of the wise person, comes how? By knowing that I never went. By knowing that the self is already here, even if my mind is covering it. That's where the cheerfulness comes from. Not from external triggers, but by knowing I never went anywhere. I am still here. I, the eternal one who can't die. I will never end. I can't cease. When the body ends, I don't end. I will continue forever. I can't go out of existence. Only good things are coming. Fully filled with self. Therefore, where does the wise person's joy come from? From knowing that I am right here, right now. Nobody has it better than I do. It's equal in all things. There's no Buddha out there who enjoys some special awareness, some special nirvana that I am not enjoying right now. So this means, suppose you now have a bunch of wonderful sages. They come together and they're out there in a garden. Okay, all your most favorite sages you totally admire, and they just have around the fire. And these are like the best of the best. Books have been written about them. Everyone looks up to them. They are put on the altar. what would you go up and ask them? Would you even go up?
How are you?
How are you? Simple. What can they possibly say to you that you don't already have? What do you want to hear? What's the truth? We're just telling you what the truth is right now.
That can lead to a kind of apathy, because
Of course you would. Of course, just to say hi, how are you? Yeah. And then very spontaneous, yeah. My question was specifically this. Knowing the truth, and there are sages outside, would you have that desire to ask, what is the truth? That's the point.
Yeah, but gratitude and saying thank you.
Now that is
And just
definite.
enjoy like the oneness to sit with them at the fire.
That is definite, yeah. Just the company of sages. Yeah.
And having a selfie.
Self. Smile. Yeah.
But
I'm
isn't that a nice expression? Selfie.
selfie. Isn't that cool just to be able to relax? That, hey, they're cool people, but I honestly have no desire to ask them anything. Because you figured it out. You're totally content with the truth.
Then can I ask to confirm if I understand that knowing that the waking state is another dream, but still that the knowledge can be going into the body-mind more and more, the doer can still perform actions to purify and do things differently, so the knowledge can shine through more easily.
Yes.
That's the only reason to do it.
Yes, so
It's a play now.
exactly. So what Monita is saying is, like we said, see, even Swamis, right? I remember this very humbling picture by Swami Dayananda. After the seminar, he goes and reads the Upanishad, reads a book, So it's just so interesting to continue the knowledge. So there's no like, oh, I don't need to read it anymore. It's just because it's a constant reminder of jeshtaha, that which is most sought after. Remember that word? Which is most sought after. And it's so attractive, so pleasing, that you want to like just engage every second of it. Even if you know, no, it's okay, I know who I am. It's just like, give me more. And then having realized the all-pervasive Brahman, they become everything. Now, as we just said, in other words, no longer asks for who am I, but recognizes cognitively that everything resolves into the self. Everything is Aksharam Brahma, thus I am also that right now. Therefore, having realized all-pervasive, they become everything. Because your identity has changed from mithya to satyam. They were already everything, so they don't really become. So you put quotes, become everything. Yeah. And then they enter Brahman, they enter. See, this is all, our language. This is all language of poetry. They enter Brahman. When I break this cup, and does the space inside the cup really enter the total space? No. When your cup falls, that's called physical death. It is like a glove being removed from a hand. It was just a temporary cover, upadhi. So in that sense, they enter Brahman upon death, which is like cup space merging with total space. But there's no real merger. It's just a language that we use. Therefore, they use transactional language because we relate to that. Verse 6, who lives karma yoga easily get it. Vedanta vijnana sunishchita arthaha sannyasa yogat yatayaha shuddha sattvaha te brahmalokeshu para ante kale paramrtaha parimuchyanti sarve. So, for those who become renunciates, having lived a life of karma yoga, so there are two paths to understanding this knowledge. The first is sannyasa, Sannyasa is giving up your householder, and it is exclusive focus on the knowledge. So you're basically a very simpleton, very simple person. And the second is karma yoga. Karma yoga is reminding yourself that there is always this presence of Ishvara all around me. This is not even knowledge. This is just basic reminder that all around me is the presence of the Lord. And I'm only ever giving to the Lord, and everything that comes to me is from the Lord. And therefore, this constant reminder burns a vasana that all there is here is God. Because you're constantly turning every transaction as a transaction between me and God, whoever it is. This has come to me. It may not be pleasant, but it comes from God's intelligent order. I am now giving to God in the form of dear students. So this constant reminder burns this impression there is only God here. And that's exactly the kind of mind you need for self-knowledge to take place. And then when they get this knowledge through karma yoga or sannyasa, they resolve into Brahman at the time of death of the subtle body. In other words, the subtle body is dropped, the physical body is dropped. And then verse 7, Jivan Muktaha's ahamkara merges with Ishvara's ahamkara. Gataha kalaha panchadasha pratishtaha devaha cha sarve prati deva tasu karmani vijnanamayaha cha atma pare avyaye sarve eki bhavanti. The 15 aspects of the jiva, what are they? They are your 5 sense organs, 5 action organs, and then you got manas, buddhi, chitta, ahamkara, prana. Okay, therefore that's 15. So everything you've learned, everything you've mastered, all of the hard work that you've put, 20 years of getting PhD, all of that knowledge resolves back into from whence it came, 5 elements. It just resolves back. It's all just given back to the 5 elements, your personality, everything. And then it says the individual ego, the ahankara, unites with Ishvara's. So this means when you say I am right now, what is that? See, there's a certain kind of a localization. There's a certain limitation, right? A sense of limitation of that I am, like I am here. Now when you drop this upadhi, nothing is containing that I am. Now that same I am is without any limitation. Therefore, their individual sense of I is not contained and even after, most important, self-realization or moksha or however you call it, even then the sense of individual I continues. Very important. While it continues, the wise person understands it is only because of the presence of upadhi. And they're okay with that. They're okay with that. They don't desire to experience and be everything. They're okay with that. They know that this subject isn't my true identity. Just like in the dream, from you, the one being, comes the subject and the object. And so, the wise person understands the subject called Andre isn't my true identity. The individual knower isn't my true identity. My identity is much larger than the individual knower. So they're okay with living with this apparent localization. And this apparentness drops when you drop the upadhi. What does it mean to drop? Verse 8, as rivers into the ocean. Yatha nadyaha syandamanaha samudre astam gachanti namarupe vihaya tatha vidvan namarupat vimuktaha parat param purusham upaiti divyam. So the rivers flowing in various directions disappear in the ocean. Okay, so you know the river Ganga, Yamuna, or the Nile River, or the Amazon River. Look at this. They have a certain name attached. Suppose you're now Ganga. and you're Yamuna. You're the Nile River. You're the Amazon. There's one in Niger. So we all have certain names attached onto us, and we're all flowing into the ocean. The moment we enter the ocean, what happens? We lose our name Upadhi. We lose Yamuna, Ganga, Niger. While we're going on our way to the ocean, were we different from the total in its essence? No. The rivers were the water, the total was the water, and Yamuna and Ganga, with total dedication, nothing stops them, because they always travel towards that which they are. They always travel to their destination. It's inbuilt. And so, as Yamuna, I travel, I'm Yamuna, 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 Yamuna. My essential nature is not different from the total. It is water. Yamuna, Yamuna, Yamuna. I drop my body. Am I still Yamuna? Yamuna is gone, but I remain essentially exactly the same. Therefore, they give up their individuality. They give up the name and form, which was only an upadhi for the time being while carrying your body. And thereby, verse 9, knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. Sa yaha ha vaitat paramam brahma veda, brahma eva bhavati na asya abrahma vidkule bhavati. Tarati shokam tarati papmanam guha granti bhyaha vimuktaha amritaha bhavati. So in such a wise person's family means circle of influence. In such a wise person's circle of influence, there is no one who does not know Brahman. There's two interpretations to this. One interpretation, I think it's Adi Shankara's commentaries, is that the person who knows Brahman, if they decide to teach, then the knowers, these other knowers, the circle of influence, the family, is the guru's students. Because the guru invests time, energy, and so much commitment to transfer this vision to the students. Therefore, within the circle of influence, there's no one who does not know Brahman. You eventually come to know that which the guru understands. And interpretation 2 is very interesting. As a wise person, you have crossed oceans upon oceans within that tree. Jumped from hoops to hoops. You've been hurt by so many birds and been disappointed. And all of that has ultimately caused you to realize Brahman, including your parents. So even your parents now gain punyam because of your recognition of the self, including your enemies and all those who have gotten a little bit of a bite on you. They bit you. They too indirectly benefit because their contribution has caused you to look deeper into life. It's funny how the web works, right? So the greatest gift you can give to the world is recognition of your nature, because you help everyone else indirectly. And since how long were you here? Since beginningless time. So how many connections do you really have? With everyone. Therefore, you bless the world indirectly by knowing the truth. And this is what the conclusion says. Tat etat satyam rishihi angiraha purovacha na etat achirna vrittaha adhite na namaha param rishibhyaha namaha parama rishibhyaha. Who's going to get the privilege of the last verse? Alto. Salutations to the seers of Brahman. Thus we own all of our seers. The gratitude and all of the prostrations for bringing us this knowledge, such as sage Angiras, who taught this once upon a time. And here we are now benefiting. Thank you, Angiras. Thank you to our lineage. Thank you to all our participants. Thank you to our teachers. And thank you to Vlerhoff and to everyone who was participating in our journey. Thank you, God. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam eva avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.